The World Meteorological Organization is warning that Asia is particularly at risk from severe weather and water stress. It says last year these cost the region $35 billion and affected 50 million people. Elena Manaenkova is Deputy Secretary General of the WMO. I asked her whether the key goal of limiting the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius was likely to be met at COP.
I guess we were extremely enthusiastic about having 1.5 in Paris Agreement, and WMO contributed much to have this in the agreement from original 2 degrees. At that time, the window was broader, but now the window is closing. Very recent report of UNEP about emissions said that emission cuts are clearly not enough. WMO report on the global concentrations of greenhouse gases says that we are still racing towards a new record. It's 415 CO2, and methane is growing faster than ever before. So that's a special feature of our report. We cannot explain the reason, but we see methane concentrations are going higher and higher. And our IPCC just said that we are not just on track to 1.5, but the window is becoming narrow. And unless immediate and deep emission reduction happens, then 1.5 might be beyond reach.
So you say immediate, deep action needs to happen now. What should that consist of, do you think?
It's still, according to the IPCC scenarios, it still remains that in order for us to still get to 1.5, the emissions should peak before 2025, and then a reduction should be 43% from 19 level by 2030. Methane could be reduced by a third, and by 2050, we should all become zero net.
And how likely is it, do you think, that any agreement is going to be made over this? Of course, there's been lots of talking already so far at COP27. Are we moving in a direction that some concrete decisions might be made?
There is another side of the coin in this whole agreement. It's adaptation and impacts and vulnerability of people. When WMO report indicates impacts which we see and the impacts which people face, this is becoming more motivating for countries and for parties to look at the complex of measures seriously. For instance, we keep saying that last 50 years, number of disasters which hit people increased 5-fold, and they are continuing to grow because with the warming climate change, disasters are becoming more frequent and more intense and often very complex and cascading.
And one area that's been particularly affected so far is Asia. Why has that been a place where the change in climate has had such a severe effect?
In fact, it's important to say that WMO releases annual reports for more than 30 years, and it's only recently we started zooming in the regions because there are specifics. Continents is different from other continents, and it was exactly today when we released specific report just about Asia to indicate what are differences in how Asia is distinct from the mean global situation. In Asia, in particular, the average warming above pre-industrial is 144, which is higher than global average, of course, because also Asia has big polar areas, and Arctic is hitting 5 times or sometimes 6 times faster and higher than the global average. In Asia, sea level rise is much higher in many places than global average, which is already high enough. And in Asia, one of the most important third pole glaciers are melting with unprecedented speed and create a lot of troubles to the people downstream.